I'm Anthony Forrest, the president of Steel Cod, and I'm here with John Beresford, our VP of Sales, ready to discuss all things appliances. All right, John, we have a versus episode that we have to talk about. And, it's not a category that a lot of appliance salespeople love, but reality is a category, and that's ice machines. People like, when it makes sense in their kitchen, a built-in ice machine. That's its only job. And the two at the top are True and Sub-Zero. So the question is, in this versus battle, is this a close battle? Is this a runaway winner? I mean, there's both premium brands, both premium units, plumbed units, clear restaurant quality ice. They check all the boxes that you would want out of an ice machine. But are those the right metrics that we should be judging these machines against each other on?
I would say that, look, the real difference between them is because you illustrated it right? I mean, they're both the two best pretty much that you could do in the category, right? But the real difference is really how consistently the machine produces ice, right? How usable the storage actually is and what the long-term ownership risks look like, right? Because, we posed this question not too long ago to our retail council about, appliance category they would remove from the floor if they could.
Right.
And it was a runaway. It was this category because it produces more headaches than ice, right? I mean, it's just, so we said, screw it. Let's just do an episode on this because nobody wants to hear it. So anyways, um, you know, ice machines they're not really an occasional use appliance, right? They're really a daily cycle refrigeration system, right? And they run constantly, and this is why salespeople hate them. And when a machine runs constantly like this, the engineering behind the production and the storage and the durability, the things that I talked about really matter. The engineering behind it matters far more than, whether a cube looks good in a glass type of a thing.
So let's frame that up in terms of the engineering, because, in terms of the demo, if you have live ice machines on your showroom floor, what do? You open the door, you pull out the ice cube, and the judgment's based on what you're holding in front of them.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah,
all you
exactly.
talk about. Or, because the brands, I mean, generally in these brands, they've heard of Sub-Zero, but they haven't connected Sub-Zero to ice machines. And they've heard of True because they've seen it in the convenience store. But other than that, it's not really brand prestige can't drive this sale. So if it's not the ice cube and it's not brand prestige, what are we talking about?
Yeah, you're right. And that's exactly how this almost every ice pitch is kind of the same way. The lazy one anyway, right? I mean, they treat these ice machines like it is a novelty appliance, right? That's something that just sits there, making ice occasionally. But the ice machine is actually one of the hardest working, appliances in the house, right? Because it's freezing water and it's harvesting the ice and it warms that plate to release the cubes and it drops the cubes into a storage bin. And then it immediately goes through that process over and over again. And, it does that all day. So the real evaluation criteria isn't the cube aesthetics like you were talking about or brand prestige like you were talking about. It's how the system's going to perform over time, right? Production volume and storage capacity and recovery speed and warranty coverage, all of these things, right? I mean, but this isn't just about making ice, a couple of times a day. It's about making ice all the time, every day for years on end. So the comparison has to be about output, holding power, and long-term durability. And when we look at kind of the system architecture behind it, you know, ice machines, they follow a similar basic process, right? But the way that the process is engineered is what makes a huge difference. So inside the machine, water flows across a freeze plate normally. It could be called an evaporator plate too. I always call it a freeze plate. But as that plate gets cold, the ice forms gradually across that surface. And then once the ice reaches a certain thickness, the machine initiates its harvest cycle. And during the harvest, that plate is going to warm up just enough to release that ice so it can drop into a storage bin. Then that entire process repeats as we talked about. Now, on paper, that whole thing sounds pretty simple, but in the execution of that, it's wildly difficult. Evaporator plate design matters, and freeze plate surface area is going to matter, and water flow management is going to matter, and just the harvesting times in and of themselves is going to matter, and just how much the machine manages these cycles repeatedly without drifting in performance is really, really critical. And True approaches this from a background that's deeply rooted in commercial refrigeration, like you talked about, right? Their machines are built around production stability, right? So consistent freezing cycles and predictable harvest behavior and reliable performance under this repeated cycling that we're asking of the machine. Where Sub-Zero's approach leans much more towards residential refinement, I guess is the best way. It's very well engineered and it's optimized around more the things that residents would care about, right? Residential environments would care about, like quiet operation and integration into the home environment, right? So the key point here is that the ice machines aren't judged by peak performance, right? They need to be judged more by consistency. So how evenly the freeze cycles operate and how stable the harvest cycles maintain and remain over time. How reliable the machine produces ice daily without the constant interruptions, those types of things. Because a machine that performs beautifully at the high end but drifts under constant use isn't a good ice machine, right? And so consistency above all else is really the real metric in this category.
So another piece of this is, of course, the ice cube that the customer is getting, and then the next question comes down to how much am I getting of this ice?
Yeah.
So how do you feel like the differences between the two of them, or kind of what matters in terms of answering that question?
Yeah, and this can get a little bit misunderstood with the specs in ice machines. Manufacturers typically quote pounds of ice produced over a 24-hour period, right? And that number gives you, I guess, more theoretical maximum output than anything else. But the number assumes really, which is crazy, ideal conditions, which almost never happens. Okay, so we're talking perfect water temperature, in perfect ambient temperature, in continuous production cycles, in there isn't a real home that's out there that's going to operate under these perfect laboratory conditions. It doesn't exist, right? Because kitchens get warm and they fluctuate, and doors open, and ice gets removed from bins. And when you empty the bin, the machine has to recover. And that recovery time is critical because entertaining scenarios that we always try to focus on with these types of machine purchases, they're exactly when people expect the ice machines to perform. So if you empty the bin during one of these gatherings, well, now the ice machine has to rebuild ice inventory very quickly. So the real performance test to me isn't just how much ice it can theoretically produce in 24 hours. That's almost irrelevant here, right? It's how consistently the machine produces ice under these real world conditions that we're calling out, right? How stable the output remains, how quickly it recovers from heavy use, and how it performs when the surrounding environment is warmer than what the ideal scenario would be for the machine. That's where the difference between a spec number and the real world output becomes much, much clearer.
So another spec number is capacity and the
Hmm.
usable volume and storage capacity. I think this is an interesting aspect of ice makers. 'Cause before selling appliances, I never even considered this as an appliance, but that a number of customers are shocked that it's not refrigerated, it's insulated. But there's
Yeah.
differences here as well. How do these brands stack up against each other?
Yeah, no, I like that because this is another reason why production is almost kind of a useless number the way that they present it, right? Because it's only as good as how much you can store at one period of time, right? Production only matters if the storage bin can hold enough ice to make that production useful. And manufacturers typically quote bin capacity as a total poundage rating, right? But that number doesn't reflect usable volume in any way, right? Because the shape of the cube is going to matter and the way that the cubes really kind of stack up matters. And the geometry of the bin itself is going to matter. So certain cube shapes stack tightly and maximize usable space. And others create air gaps that reduce how much ice the bin can actually realistically hold. So if you think about engineering scenarios, right? If the machine produces ice quickly, but the bin is relatively small, well, then the machine ends up cycling constantly just to keep up. And if the bin is larger and well designed, well, the machine can build a reserve. And that reserve is what's super important because the entertaining isn't, a steady trickle of ice use. It's really these giant bursts. We're talking making multiple drinks being made quickly, right? Or guests grabbing ice just constant on repeat. And if the storage bin doesn't match the production capacity, then the production numbers become far less meaningful. So, in other words, if the storage is undersized, production is pretty much irrelevant at that point.
So let's talk water and purity. So these ice cubes,
Mhm.
unless you're doing the pellets, you better be able to read a newspaper through this ice cube. And this is a crucial element of
Yeah,
this for customers,
yeah.
especially for the quality of the drinks. And there's a reason why clear ice is superior to the cloudy ice. What are you finding are the differences between these brands?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. And listen, when you talk about clear ice, all clear ice is the result of a controlled freezing process, right? When water freezes slow enough, those impurities are pushed out of the water, right? That's really what happens, right? I mean, and when that's managed correctly, the result is a very dense, transparent cube, and it's really just engineering, right? It's water flow management. And the machine needs to circulate water in a way that prevents air bubbles and mineral concentration from getting trapped into that ice. So that's where line pressure tolerance is going to matter. Whoever thought you would be talking about line pressure tolerances, but it matters to the clarity of the ice. If the machine is sensitive to those fluctuations in water pressure, it can actually affect how evenly the water spreads across your freeze plate. Air purge behavior matters. What the hell is air purge, right? I mean, some of these systems actively purge small amounts of water during the cycles to remove all of these dissolved solids, right? And freeze uniformity, right? That matters too. If the freeze plate cools unevenly, then the cube clarity is going to suffer as a result. So all of these things play a crucial role into these things, right? And it's all a result of really careful engineering in water handling and freeze management.
So a big one with ice machines is, especially when you talk about it with customers, is this is not a set it and forget it appliance. This requires some maintenance, and there's some long-term risks and warranty considerations. Who do you like in
Yeah.
this category?
Yeah, listen, ice machines are one of the most mechanically active appliances in the house. We kind of talked about that and to it already, right? I mean, they're cycling on constantly and they freeze and harvest and drain and refill and freeze again and all that stuff that we're talking about. So, the continuous cycling means components experience more overtime than many other kitchen appliances ever could, including your refrigerator. So warranty coverage matters more here than I would argue any other category, right? Because you're not just buying a machine here, you're really buying confidence in this category more than anything else that the manufacturer stands behind that machine. And it gets a little bit murky because there's a lot that's asked of the customer when it comes to maintaining the appliance too, which gets tough, right? So warranty structure tells you how much risk the manufacturer is willing to absorb here, and it also tells you how confident they are in the durability in the system, meaning parts coverage and sealed system coverage and length of coverage and service network accessibility, all those types of things. Because when an ice machine needs service, and eventually I would argue every single one of them is going to need to, the warranty determines how painful that experience is really going to become for the consumer. So in this category specifically, warranty isn't just paperwork, it's really risk management above anything else.
So, John, I mean, we checked a lot. We talked a lot about ice machines and what's important with ice machines and considerations for the customers. So, between True and Sub Zero, who you like?
Yeah, so I held my cards till the end on this one, right? Because a lot of these versus episodes, you can almost tell in the first paragraph kind of where we're going. But here's what I can tell you. In every single one of these categories, True completely dominates all competition, and it's not a slight against Sub-Zero. Sub-Zero is a very good ice machine, and if you want to buy a Sub-Zero to match the rest of your Sub-Zero and Wolf appliance kitchen, by all means do it. It's a great machine. But when we're talking about just picking the best, right? They have the most ice production in a day. They have the most ice storage in a day by a large amount, right? They have consistent daily production throughout. They have consistent reliability under heavily cycling because of their commercial heritage. Their warranty is fantastic. I mean, we're talking high marks in pretty much everything, any possible way that it truly matters to weigh one of these machines. True not only outdoes Sub-Zero here, they outdo the entire market. So again, the stronger machine is the one that's going to deliver the most consistent production, performance, the most usable storage, and the most confidence in long-term ownership. And to me, True does it with a bullet.
Well, that's pretty comprehensive. And you did hold your cards to the end. Usually you really tip your hand. This time you held to the
I didn't
end.
want to
Really?
on this one. This one's funny because I think that just like there's such a hatred, a love-hate relationship with ice machines in this business. So I didn't want to tip my hand of kind of where we were going in this one, but you know, it's easy to read off a spec sheet and say, all right, this one's good and this one fits the bill and all that kind of stuff. But once you understand the engineering behind it and what these things are actually expected to do and really the demand on them, I think it's really important whenever you can to pick the best one in the category if you're going to go this route.
And, I'm with you on this one. The best one in the category, this is a pretty crucial one to be in. I had a friend that spent a lot of money on a kitchen remodel. They went over
Yeah,
budget, of course, like everybody else. So they decided,
sure.
well, we want an ice maker, but it's fine. We'll just get one from a box store. When you walk in their house, the first thing you hear is the ice maker, the buzz
Yeah.
from the ice maker. It is so loud. They're like, "Can't keep up with that." It was a huge mistake. Luckily, they could in that cutout, they could put something else. But yeah, this is one you cannot cut corners in this category.
There are no shortcuts to a good ice machine. If you don't have the budget for it, because listen, these are expensive. If you don't have the budget for it, take it out of the equation. It's not worth what you're about to face. If you're lucky, it fails immediately and you can just rip it out and put something else in its place. But that's usually not the experience that customers have when they try to shortcut an ice machine. This is the one appliance in your entire home, pool house, wherever it is. Do not shortcut it. Invest in this category or don't buy one.
We drop a new episode every day of the week, including weekends. Don't forget to rate and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.